Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We are fortunate enough to be joined by somebody who frankly understands, this just the art of the democratic process better than anybody. So Doc, we really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us about this.
Thank you for the chance.
I want to talk about what we should be looking for today. We're watching these results come in from the state of Wisconsin right now. They're getting their final ballots in, and then we're watching Michigan and Pennsylvania get what are you looking for, and what should people be looking for so they don't have to worry about stuff that might just be noise?
Oh, okay. Well, essentially, it's a kind of a waiting game, but I think for me, kind of professionally, what I'd be waiting for is to look at the results from Pennsylvania. In particular, because of that mix that we talked about different vote types. Pennsylvania could go for Trump or Biden. I'd also be kind of looking at Michigan. I think Wisconsin is kind of looking more closely for Biden, but that could obviously change. I think hopefully today, right, we'll get some resolution to the counting, which I think is probably a source of concern and worry for some, is that because it's not a clear, open process in the sense of being able to see people count votes, to know that it's occurring kind of delays what we all want as kind of the conclusion to it. So that's kind of where I've been looking at, just looking at these states that are still left out, or left open, excuse me. And then also looking at the Senate and seeing if some of those races flip or otherwise change as a function of these additional votes that are being counted.
When you see the numbers that you're seeing, what does this kind of a turnout tell you about the nature of this election? Is that... does it indicate something about where we're heading as a country or where we are?
I think people are highly motivated, right, for a variety of reasons. One of the things that people who study kind of voting turnout have kind of bemoaned is, at least in a historical sense, the relative low levels of U.S. political participation, especially in presidential elections. And so while we don't have official turnout counts now, my kind of thinking is that turnout in this presidential election will be kind of historically significant. And I think it's probably a function of the environment. You have a pandemic, you have social unrest, you have very different candidates, both of whom are kind of highly motivating for the people that support them. And so, while I know that many of us are worried about the outcome of the election and ultimately what that would mean, the other thing to maybe keep in mind is that, people are voting. People are participating, right? They're really trying to make their interests known. And so in that sense, a small d-sense democracy is kind of thriving, which is kind of an optimistic way to think about it.
It's interesting to think about the fact that, the pandemic and all these, social unrest, whatever the issue or the topic you might point to, these all contribute to a higher turnout.
I think because people are much more aware than they otherwise would be. They're thinking about the consequences, of their choice for purposes of questions that really affect their everyday lives. So how am I going to protect myself if I'm worried about the pandemic? How do we address, say, racial inequality and reactions to it? So I think the environment is, I guess to say it, is motivating, but I think it's also one that's kind of tumultuous and difficult. And so I think people want to get some kind of political resolution to those things that prove to be difficult in their own lives.
Well, Dr. Delahanty, we really appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning. As you were saying that, I've got results from 2016 up on my screen, and the amount of people voting in this election compared is night and day. So we really appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us this morning. We'll have all of our conversations with him on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. We'll be right back on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 after this.